Joe Biden took an awfully long time to recognise what's been happening in Hawaii. Then when eventually he shows up, he slurs his words, he falls asleep. But it's another little insight into the fact that this guy is just all machine, all politics, and all of the emoting, including when he invokes his own house fire, which I think authorities referred to as not significant. This guy we know is a fake, but also we know that he's pretty shallow when it comes to his own emotions here.
Lightning struck at home on a little lake that's outside of our home, not a lake, a big pond, and hit a wire and came up underneath our home into the heating ducts, the air conditioning duct. To make a long story short, I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat.
I cannot believe what I have seen him do in and around Maui over the past 2 weeks. It is so telling. It's further confirmation of something we already knew, but man alive, is it confirmation. So our sitting president has been on vacation pretty much every other week. And his real job is a vacation too, because he only works about 4 hours a day, according to the White House aides. He's on duty from 10 to 4, and then Matlock's on and he's got to run. So he takes a vacation from all the tapioca pudding, and he goes to Rehoboth Beach, which is a beautiful beach in Delaware. He's hanging out there when Maui happens. Somebody happens to get him with his shirt off, and they say, Mr. President, you have a comment on the number of people dead. I mean, there are 115 people dead. They believe there's going to be scores of children who are dead in this thing, Paul. They're still missing almost 1,000. And he says, no comment. No comment. Like he's George Clooney walking out of the Oscars. You're not George Clooney. You're the president. One word. I don't care. You're on the beach. You say, God, my God, it's terrible. My heart goes out to them. My wife's heart goes out too. We'll be making a statement on it soon. I've got my people on it, right? Something to show some heart. He gets asked to follow up another day. Similar response. Won't say anything. Would you want to say anything about the people in Maui? No. Okay. Then he gets shamed on his second back-to-back vacation. He goes from the beaches of Delaware to Lake Tahoe, one of the most beautiful and pristine places in the United States. It's on the border of Nevada and California. And he's staying in a billionaire's house out there, big Democrat billionaire. He gets asked there, how about doing something for the people of Maui? Finally, he gets shamed into visiting Maui. He goes to Maui, not once, but twice. He makes his public remarks about himself, referring to how he knows what it's like. I'm saying 1,000 people could be dead here. You've got children dead from fire. And he says, I know what it's like. Our house almost burned down. My wife almost died. We pulled up the Associated Press report from 2004, said it was insignificant, said no one was in any danger, said it was a kitchen fire, which they got out on almost immediately. And then President Biden has the nerve to say, almost lost my Corvette. No one gives a damn about your car. No one. Stop trying to compare your minor kitchen fire to this, the worst wildfire we've had in American history. But he doesn't have it. He doesn't have that heart thing that tells you, stop, for the love of God, stop.
But also, it's a perfect example about, some people sort of try to turn themselves in knots about why do people not trust the media? We must all agree on a truth. You remember doing shows when the outrage about George Bush was that he was in a helicopter flying over the victims of Hurricane Katrina. You remember the nonsense of Ted Cruz was out of the state when there was huge blackouts. And because these people weren't sort of either emotive enough or instantly on hand, that became the story. But the fact that Biden is allowed to stay as far away as he has from multiple disasters, and even in one that, as you say, may well end up killing 1,000 people, his response is no comment. And we all know that that's about trying to avoid questions about Hunter Biden. But if people ever wonder why there's a certain section of the United States that doesn't quite trust the messenger, it's when there's a double standard about things like this. George Bush hates black people. Remember Kanye West? Well, what do we have to say about Biden?
He's gotten a complete pass, you won't be surprised to hear. And even on the missteps while in Maui, not only did he go back to his, alleged house fire that almost killed everybody. No, it didn't. He, of course, once again brought up the death of his first wife and his daughter, which happened 50 years ago, and is not an appropriate thing to say to people who are right now grieving the loss of their families, of their children, of everything in their lives. He does it all the time. And instead of recognizing that this is insensitive, which Biden has clearly been coached on, because he began one of these comments by saying, I know you're not supposed to compare, but, and then he did it anyway, twice. Instead of calling him out on that and just saying, could you stop? Not every moment is about you. Not everything is about you. He did it, and the New York Times wrote up about how, oh, it's something he often does to show empathy to others. You know how you show empathy? You say, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'll do anything I can to help you. And I actually am in a position to help, right? You don't start talking about your loss, trying to make the person grieving have to express their condolences to you. He did it after the Afghanistan service members were killed, after his disastrous withdrawal. The 13 servicemen, he lied about the death of his son in order to bond with them. That was a death that was on his hands because he handled it so poorly, and he still tried to make it about himself. We could go down the list. Now, as we learn more about Hunter Biden, and he was in court, you know, when his plea deal fell apart a couple weeks ago, he had to talk to the court about his drug addiction, because that's what he's saying was the problem in him not filing all those tax returns. He got into it, and he started listing how he'd been in and out of inpatient rehab facilities 6 times over the relevant time frame, not to mention the outpatient facilities, about just how bad the addiction was to booze, to crack, you name it. And during these exact times, his dad was allowing him to go sit on that Burisma board in Ukraine, to have dinners, and to loop the sitting vice president of the United States into the dinners at Cafe Milano with Russian oligarchs, with Chinese officials. And Hunter Biden was cashing in, as do we believe Joe Biden. But even if you take that out of it, at a minimum, Joe Biden knew that his son was severely compromised, was in active addiction, allowed him to rake in this dough, allowed him access to these facilities Joe Biden had, which had classified documents inappropriately stored and improperly retained. And he gets a pass from the media on all of it.